Now if you look closely as Jason zooms in, you'll notice 3 birds' eggs with very cryptic camouflage, and where are the birds themselves? Jason's going to probably, there it is. So that is one of the 2 proud owners of those little eggs. And now you can see the very clear white crown on its head, hence its name, the crowned lapwing. Now a lot of you may be wondering, why would it nest on the ground, and how would it deter any predators or even just large animals walking over those eggs? There's a few different techniques the lapwings use. For predators, they will often pretend that they are injured, so they'll drag one wing along the ground, for example, acting like a wounded bird, and that way distracting the predator towards them as they hobble away from the nest. And as soon as the predator gets close to them, they fly off, which must obviously be a fairly confusing moment for the predator after thinking they're going to have a very easy meal. With large animals like buffalo and elephant, they will simply make a lot of noise and hold their wings out to make themselves look bigger, and that way try and deter any large animals from walking over the eggs. This nest is probably 2 feet off the side of the road as well, so there's probably countless vehicles that have driven past within just a few feet of the nest. Anyway, we're going to leave them to their business because we are parked quite nearby to the nest, so we could show you those eggs. And good morning from myself, and Romeo's on camera this morning, and Nikki in final control. Mark and VM have got the morning off to catch up on some sleep and recharge their batteries. So it'll just be myself out this morning. Interestingly enough, there's a few other lapwings here that I've just spotted, so we'll just show you those. And I wonder if these blacksmith lapwing have have a nest and any eggs in the area. It's fairly common for lapwing to nest communally, even with different species, and that way they've got increased security for mobbing predators or deterring larger animals from walking over their nests. So again, safety in numbers. This one appears to be feeding already, possibly on some ants or termites. It looks like it's very small prey that it's feeding on there. We've got some beautiful purple and pink colors to the east. There's a bit of cloud cover this morning, but I think it could burn off as the day progresses. It looks like a thin layer of cloud cover above us. Okay. Now, the great thing about the start to this morning, well, at least I hope it's going to be a good thing, is that by coming to this nest to start with, which is what I really wanted to do, it's brought us to the northern reaches of our property, and I'm going to be checking our northern boundary in the hope that the Kunyuma Pride of Lion have decided to come and visit us. It's been probably close on a week now that we haven't seen lion, especially these. So with a little bit of luck, they would have moved a little bit further south from where they were last night, and we'll find their tracks coming into Djuma. So that is the game plan. We haven't seen lion for quite a while, but as a lot of you will know, even though we may be looking for lion, we could bump into any other animals along the way. going to stop here for a second and scan around the dam and see if there's any animals of interest. So some more crowned lapwings here, and I wonder where their nest is. It could be very close to us. I'm guessing it's somewhere to the right of where they are now, in amongst a few piles of dung. They like to use small landmarks to nest next to, and that's probably so that they also can find their nest. So the other nest we looked at was close to a few piles of buffalo dung. And like I said, it's just a bit of a landmark that they can use to help find their nest. Well, nothing here at Sydney's dam, so we will continue to the east. We're quite close to our northwestern boundary here, and the Kunyuma Pride were situated to our left-hand side to our north, but further ahead, further to the east, and therefore we hope they are going to have crossed from left to right somewhere up ahead of us. Now, something else about the Kunyuma Pride is that they did split up and managed to actually get out of the reserve, but thankfully they are all back in the reserve and together reunited as a pride. So that is some good news, and look forward to seeing all 8 of them together when eventually we do find them. Copy, thanks. Now, another animal we can look out for when we're in this area this morning is Karula, which is a female leopard, and her tracks were heading in this direction yesterday afternoon, so she could also be floating around these northern sections. It is great to have overcast weather because it provides us with cooler weather, but one catch about the overcast weather is that when looking for tracks it becomes very difficult. The best weather for tracking is early in the morning with sunshine, so that the sun's coming in at an angle and therefore casting shadows on the tracks, making it easier to see. As soon as the sun becomes directly above us or covered by cloud, we get very flat lights and it makes for difficult tracking. So I'm just going to take it a bit slower than normal to make sure I don't miss any important clues along the way. I'm sure it won't be very long until we have fully electric game drive vehicles, more commonly used on safari, because imagine how great it would be traveling silently like this on your safari. It really does make a big difference. Now Romeo's just noticed a beautiful slither of pink coloration coming through the clouds. I'm just going to try and get into a little bit of a better spot, so hold on, Jason. I'm hoping we're going to get a clear gap just down here. Just got a question through from Chris on Twitter asking if I have any idea where the Birmingham coalition of male lions is. And I don't. Last I heard they were north of us in the Magnoleti, Chris. And look forward to a return visit from them. It'll happen at some stage, I'm fairly certain. They've provided us with some really wonderful game viewing, the Birmingham Coalition, and it's going to be very interesting to watch them grow as a coalition over the months and years, because they could potentially become a force to be reckoned with. Five male lions together. Morning stations, Scott here. I'm going to be checking Buffalo's cut line from Sandy Patch towards Buffalo's line. And if all else fails with finding any predators this morning, thankfully there's a lot of elephants in the area at the moment, so I'm confident we will be able to track down some elephants. And they are such wonderful animals to view, because unlike a lot of the other high-profile animals that can spend a lot of time sleeping, elephants are often very active, and that makes for great viewing for us. Got a question through from Anne in Seattle. Good morning, Anne, and welcome. Anne's picked up on something interesting here, and just a few moments ago I mentioned that hopefully we will be using electric cars in the future, which will therefore be silent and or very quiet at least. And Anne has mentioned, will the animals not become more nervous and skittish of the vehicles because they will not hear us coming like they would naturally in one of these vehicles? And it's a good point, and I think it may take some of the animals a bit of getting used to, but a lot of the time there is chatter from the vehicles and other noises, not necessarily made by the vehicle itself, but made by the people on it. So it'll be something that's interesting to monitor, and I don't think it'll be too much of a problem, but certain species may get a little bit nervous. I think of elephants and rhino are two examples. If you are in a sighting with them and you freewheel, they can be a little bit nervous, whereas if you were to start the engine, they'd be more aware of what's going on. I don't think it's going to be a major issue, but it will certainly be something interesting to monitor. Well, so far it's just been a lot of hyena tracks down this road, along with some elephant, but no lion or leopard tracks that I've seen. You may notice how I will often slow down where any road junctions are meeting this road, and that's because animals will often use the roads as their main pathways to travel along, and therefore it's a good place to check closely for any tracks that may be joining a road that you're driving on off another road at the junctions. Oh, well, this is going to be beautiful. What I'm going to try and do is just pull off the road very quickly, and that way they won't be forced to move off it as they pass us. As far as I would have liked, but it should be enough space. The one on the left's got a almost noticeably longer tail than normal, even if you compare it to the individual on the right. A very bushy and long tail. And it looks like they haven't had a very successful night. Their bellies don't seem too full. And wouldn't it be interesting to know what they've been up to? I'm just going to continue to watch them just to make sure they don't know something that we don't know. Come on, vocalize. Vocalize. So they will in all likelihood be slowly heading back towards the rest of their clan or a den site potentially after spending the night out looking for meals. We'll leave them to it and continue with our adventure, but that was a wonderful sighting. I didn't recognize crossing shortly, otherwise it means they are still out of reach for us. I'm going to continue all the way to our northeastern boundary and then decide what to do from there. Got a question through from Amanda in Alabama. Good morning, Amanda, and welcome. Amanda's interested to know my feelings and emotions when heading off on leave, and it's mixed emotions, but after having spent a month or longer in the bush, it is always great to head out and change the scenery and catch up with friends and family. So when it's time to go on leave, we typically are excited to be going. But on the same note, as soon as it is time to come back, it's never difficult, or you never feel, or I never feel unready to come back from leave to the bush. It's almost a safe haven to come back to. The leaves can be fairly chaotic with lots of traveling and trying to catch up with so many different people that you often need a holiday after your break. But when you're on leave, I guess you miss the bush to a degree. But I like to keep myself very busy and often spend time in wilderness areas or outdoor areas. On my leave, so I still get my fix. Well, this is an animal I haven't seen for a long time. Now, even though its head is in the grass, you should be able to tell what it is simply by looking at its bottom. It's got a very characteristic circle on its rump that no other antelope in this area has. And this is the waterbuck. With a mouthful of grass. And this is a male. The females lack the horns. I'm just going to give it a moment or two to see where he moves. I'm not sure whether we're going to be able to get a decent angle if we move from here, as it gets quite thick between him and the road. But let's take a chance. Just got a question through from Nikki in the final control, and she's interested to know whether it's normal for him to be alone. And like a lot of the older males of various species, they can often move alone. Wildebeest, elephant, sometimes even lion. So even not even specifically herbivores, but even carnivores will have the freedom of not having to move great distances in order to feed many mouths of a family, and therefore can hang around on their own and may join up with other herds of other animals for safety when it suits him. He could well also spend more time following females as it nears to the mating season. But for now, it's not quite there yet, so he can enjoy a stress-free life doing whatever it is he pleases. So it's not uncommon for them to be alone, certainly dangerous, and I wouldn't want to be alone out here if I was this waterbuck. Okay. Christine in Texas. Good morning and welcome. Christine is interested to know how tall the waterbuck is, and I'd probably say it's a very similar height to a wildebeest and or a kudu. So kudu, wildebeest, that kind of a height, to give you other animals that we see more commonly here that you may be able to relate to in terms of height. So yeah, about the height of a wildebeest or a kudu. And she's also interested to know what animals will prey on the waterbuck. It's quite large, and therefore typically only lion will be able to hunt fully grown kudu, but there's no doubt in my mind that smaller kudu will be attacked by all the other predators, smaller waterbuck, apologies, will be attacked by all the different predators that we get in this area. And interestingly enough, it therefore allows me to now chat about how they've got their name. Now, they don't rely heavily on water, they aren't always seen around water, and therefore you may be wondering why they are called waterbuck. And that is because often when they are under attack from various animals, they will run into the water, any water there is nearby them, in order to escape their prey, their predators. Just had a change of heart. I'd rather go down another road. So that is why they are called waterbuck. They will often flee into water as a refuge when under attack from predators. And they're not the only antelope to do that. Impala will also do that, and various other antelope will plummet into water. It's just that they are probably maybe more likely to do it than others. Just got a question through from, I think it's Christine, and Christine's interested to know whether there's any antelope that predators prefer not to feed on. And oh, sorry, Romeo. Thanks, Romeo. Now, it's a good question, Romeo, and funny you ask, because it's believed in some circles that waterbuck, due to their smell, they can have quite a pungent smell of almost a wet carpet kind of a smell. A wet and moldy carpet would be my description of their smell. There's porcupine tracks heading down this road from last night, and that's an animal we really need to try and show you guys after dark. They are predominantly nocturnal. Anyway, the waterbuck does have quite a horrible smell, and some people say that this causes predators to be less likely to eat them, but I haven't noticed that personally. I've seen many different predators, mainly lion, feeding happily on waterbuck. And for most predators, the best meal for them is an easy meal, and most of them are not very fussy as to what their prey is. morning, no updates that I've copied. Well, this is a sign of the many elephants that are in the area at the moment, so we're having to occasionally clear some rubble out the road. Oh, that's one of the prices you pay for having elephants roaming around your neighborhood. Far beats traffic, I guess. Marco in New Jersey, good morning. Marco's interested to know whether or where the porcupine will head back to during the day. And that's a good question, Marco. So, like I said, there were some porcupine tracks on the road back there, and they are predominantly nocturnal. And Marco obviously wants to know what they do during the day, and they live in burrows. Excavated burrows, often excavated by them, but not necessarily always excavated by them. They will be happy to use hyena den sites, old termite mounds, which could have been excavated by them, or aardvark, or the hyena themselves. They can sometimes even share den sites with hyena and or warthog, various animals that live in burrows. Now, the size of the burrows that they live in will vary greatly. I've never been into one, Marco, to be honest. It would be pretty hair-raising. But they live essentially in burrows. And be it in an old termite mound or just one that they've dug for themselves, it varies from area to area and from porcupine to porcupine. I was thinking about heading over to the hyena den sites at some stage this morning, but somebody was there and he just saw the last adult leave. So the adults have probably already done their nursing for the morning, and now they're going to go and relax away from the cubs so that they can get some peace and quiet. If they were to stay at the den the whole day, the cubs would not stop bothering them. So that rules out the hyena den as an option. As for things to do. But I'm confident Romeo is going to find us something interesting in the next few minutes. Romeo?
Yeah?
I hope you're confident as well.
So confident it hurts.
Okay, well, I hope you all heard that. Romeo is so confident in finding something that it's actually hurting him. So, what we'd like to do is try and put him out of his misery and pain and suffering here and find something. And then he can relax and do what he does best, and that is film.
Scroll through this. Yes, nailed it.
No more pain and suffering for Romeo. And they are such beautiful antelope, the Inyala. We're quite close to Buffelshoek Dam. I wonder if it wasn't one of these Inyala's family members that was killed there a few days ago. It was a young male that was being fed on by the quarantine male leopard. Still speculation as to who caught the Inyala, whether it was the crocodile or quarantine, and we'll never know the answer to that question, or whether it was from this herd, but it is in that area. Let's see if we can get a different angle. You may notice the Inyalas are browsing, so they feed on a mixture of leaves and grass. Unlike some of the other herbivores that will only feed on either or. This is a young male here, so in all likelihood the son of one of the females. He'll probably be moving out of the herd soon, and he'll join up with a bachelor herd of males, I guess. So, radio that you will hear when communicating on the Game Drive channel. And where would I start? Okay, I'll start with elephants. Elephant in Shangaan would be known as Ndlovu, which is spelled Ndlovu. There's slightly different spellings and pronunciations for the different dialects you get in South Africa. There's 9 different African languages within South Africa, so they will vary slightly, and the spelling I may give you may be a Zulu spelling, but it sounds the same, and I'm just going to give you the easiest spelling for pronunciation purposes. So Ndlovu is elephant, Inyari, I-N-Y-A-R-I, Inyari, or also known as Inyati, is buffalo. Lion or Ingala. Leopard, and that would be spelled N-G-A-L-A. Leopard are known as Ingwe, which is I-N-G-W-E. Cheetah would be known as a Shkankan. Wild dog, Madach. And again, don't worry too much about the spelling, rather just write it down however it sounds. So Shkankan for cheetah, Madach for wild dog. What else is there? Mkonzo means tracks. So if we're following on tracks of Ingwe Mkonzo, it means Ingwe tracks. So Mkonzo is another word you may hear fairly often.
Hyena?
I thought you'd seen one. I was like, where? Hyena is known as an Mnisi or Mpisi. M-N-I-S-I. And those are kind of main animals we may be chatting about on the radio. But if there are any specific animals that you'd be interested in knowing, send your questions through to Nikki, and I will do my best to give you their name in Shangaan. Just got a question through from Ray in Vegas. Morning, Ray, and I hope all is well in Vegas. Ray is interested to know how we would tell the difference between kudu and Inyala. They are quite similar and both part of the spiral-horned antelope family, so they are cousins, you could say. And the kudus are bigger than the Inyala, considerably larger, and their horns will be kind of twice as long as the Inyala. They also have a considerably different coloration. Well, I wonder where the crocodile is. Anyway, I can't see the crocodile, but I'm fairly certain it's still here. And there was a question yesterday asking what would happen if there was a hippo in this waterhole. And they do live very often side by side together with no issues, the hippo and crocodile. They share the same home but very different feeding habits, and therefore, because they don't prove a threat to one another's feeding and are therefore no competition to one another, they tolerate one another's presence, except for obviously in times of extreme drought or pressure on a waterhole. They may become less tolerant of one another, and or if a female has a very small calf. Now, Romeo, if you don't mind, there's a little black and white bird sitting on the bushes on that peninsula there. There we go. Well, that's the one. There's a second one to our right. That Romeo's going to pan across now. It's a little bit closer. And I'm hoping it's going to turn around. And when it does turn around, we will then be able to identify whether it's a male or a female. So I'm sure a lot of you have already managed to establish which bird this is. And for those of you who don't know, it's a pied kingfisher. But the test is going to be who can tell whether it's male or female. But we are going to need to see its breast in order to be able to establish that. What would also be wonderful if they started to do some hunting. They've got incredible hovering abilities that allow them to lock target on fish below them before they plummet into the water. Now, is this kingfisher going to turn around? Or is it going to fly off before we get a view of its breast? Only time will tell. We'll give it a few more minutes. So, that's the kind of full length of it. But what I'm going to show you here is where the eye would have shed from. So that is the perfect casing of the eye that I've just broken off. Now, this is a test for the snake lovers out there. There's something on the snakeskin that may be between my two little fingers that is a key characteristic feature of a certain snake that we find out here. So, if anybody can have a guess as to what snake this is, I'd be very impressed. The key factor being it has a big eye. Now, I'm going to try and hold up so this is the skin from the head, and the eye would fit in there, to give you an idea of its size relative to its head. It's not easy, but a very pretty snakeskin that I found in a tree. So that's another clue as to which snake it could have come from. Nikki's just given her answer through. Go again with who that was. Okay, so far we've got African rock python, vine snake, python, both are wrong. Now we've got the black mamba, also wrong. Natalie in Florida with the boom slung, well done. So Natalie in Florida, very, very well done. A boom slung has an extra large eye relative to other snakes and also relative to its body size. So this was a boom slung. The other clue that would have helped with that is that I did find the skin in a tree, which is where boom slung live, and the direct translation of boom slung is tree snake. We've got a few more boom slung answers from Chris and Lisa, so well done. As well as James and Hal. So to everyone that did get boom slung, and we may not be able to mention all of your names, but very well done, and I'm impressed. Now what we need to do next is find an actual boom slung to show you. The kingfisher sadly has flown off while we were caught up with the snake there, but what I'm going to do is try and creep a little bit closer to one of the other, or the other initial kingfisher that we saw here, and that way maybe be able to establish whether it's male or female. Yes, sir. Kingfisher, please. Wonderful. Well, this one is now perched appropriately for us to be able to identify whether it's a male or a female. So that is the next question. Is this a boy or is this a girl? Okay, Romeo, now we'll leave it up for a bit longer. But that's enough. Now down to the crocodile, which is just lying up on the bank down to the left. Now, while we have a look at our new friend, the crocodile, we can answer Barbara's question. Barbara's interested to know whether the boomslang is a venomous snake. And it is indeed, Barbara. It's highly venomous, but thankfully, despite having a very high venom content, it's not very dangerous to humans. Now, there's a few reasons for that. Mainly, the fact that it is not an aggressive snake helps us, and even if it does become aggressive and does bite us, it has back fangs, so its fangs are very far back in its mouth, which make it harder for it to inject large amounts of venom into us. And typically when it does bite its prey, it needs to almost chew on it in order to be able to inject enough venom from those back fangs. The venom that they have is hemotoxic, so it attacks your blood and causes you to bleed profusely. But like I say, despite having a very, very high venom content, it's not an aggressive snake by nature, and also its fang structure also aids us in, as often when they do bite us, it would be a dry bite. And that can happen. You can get bitten by a snake, it can puncture your skin with its fangs, but it may not actually inject any venom, which is something quite interesting. Okay, Nikki says she's already got a few questions on the kingfisher, so we'll go back to that and be able to explain to you why this one is in fact a female. So Marsha, Tina, Lynn, Natalie are a few names of who have got the kingfisher question correct, and it is a female. Now, for those of you who don't know how to determine this, what I'll do is I will ask Jason to zoom down to my book, and I can therefore show you a direct comparison between the male and the female. Now, on the left you'll notice the male has the bow tie at the top with a cummerband below, or a belt below. So that's the way I remember it's a male, the bow tie and cummerband. Whereas the female only wears the bra. She doesn't have a belt or a cummerband that she wears on her outfits. So well done to those of you who did get the answer right. And now if we go back to the live specimen we have here, you will notice that it lacks the cummerbund or belt and is only wearing a bra. So wherever that other one is, we can assume it was the male. We're nice and close to this hippo and he seems quite relaxed with our presence, so we may as well enjoy a few shots of him while we are nice and close. They're really interesting animals to look at, but sadly during the day when they are submerged in the water, they are not hugely entertaining. Unless, of course, they stick their nostrils out and flare them like he just did. Ooh, Romeo, if you don't mind, the heron looks like it's in a seriously cool hunting pose there. So let's keep an eye on this heron for a moment or two and see if it can't catch something. Just to let everyone know that Jason has been at full zoom when trying to get up close to the bird to identify or to show you the differences between the male and the female, so there's nothing he can do to increase the zoom anymore. Even now it would be great if we could get a little bit tighter on this heron, but sadly we are at maximum zoom from where we are. And look at the concentration and patience that this heron is employing during its hunt. Well, I've just heard an update on the radio now, and the tracks of the Kunyuma pride have been found. There's a lot of people looking for them to the north of us, and sadly the tracks are heading in the wrong direction. They're heading further north, so not towards us. You'll notice a lot of rises in the water, and those will be from fish. There's a multitude of fish in this dam, mainly catfish and tilapia, but of high numbers. And that's what this heron is. Oh! Well, if you blinked, you would have missed it. And it appears like that was a failed hunt. Just got a question through from Lynn on Twitter, and Lynn is interested to know why the hippos spend so much time in the water. And that's because they've got sensitive skin. If they were to be out in the sun all day, they would essentially get sunburnt. So it's to protect their sensitive skin. Occasionally you will see them sunning themselves in the colder months of the year, but they are typically submerged in the water during the daylight hours. And we've just got a comment through from Barbara in Illinois, and she's mentioned that on live cams in different parts of Africa, she's noticed that hippo behave differently, and that they'll spend more time out sunning themselves on the banks, river banks, or lying up on the edge of the dams. And that's true, and it's simply because, oh, the kingfisher just made a huge kill. Well done, Romeo. It's got a massive fish in its beak. Oh, I'm going to turn around quickly. Incredible. It's actually speared that small fish. It completely impaled it and didn't actually open its beak to latch onto it, but like I say, rather impale it. And now what it's going to do is it's going to continue to try and bash the fish's head against the log in order to kill it. And then we are going to have the great entertainment of watching the kingfisher trying to swallow this fish. Now, it shouldn't battle too much, but it is quite a big fish for it to swallow, so let's wait and see what happens. And well done, Jason. He did incredibly well to capture that, and you wouldn't believe it, but the other kingfisher also just made another kill.
Yeah, we're trying to look at it.
I think stay on. I don't know, are they, Jason? Sorry. I think the bigger one is off. Yeah, that's probably going to be the best one. There are so many fish in this waterhole that when the kingfisher did fly in, a multitude of smaller fish, you could see them scattering and their movement rippling along the surface. And both kingfishers didn't even hover, they just flew straight in to the water without hovering. So I think it's because there is a multitude of fish here for them. I wonder if we can reposition slightly, Jason. Let me try quickly. Well, who would have thought we would have seen a kill? Oh, that should be a bit better. Sorry. Here it goes. It's thinking about trying to swallow it. And this is the female, so the one we were looking at earlier, that's made the kill. And all you ladies out there will be glad to know that she caught a considerably larger fish than the male. I would say this one is 3 times bigger than the male's catch. So she showed him up. And she was also the first one to catch something.
How will she fit that in her mouth?
Well, as you may have heard Jason just say, how is she going to fit that into her mouth? And she's going to swallow it whole, head first. I don't think she's going to battle too much. I've seen kingfishers swallow some incredibly large prey. But like I say, let's wait and see how it manages.
It's like me trying to eat this camera. The other one also just caught one, but it's smaller.
Another one?
Yeah.
So it's caught 2 now.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, what's the time? Just past 7 is time for these guys to start hunting. Because like Jason says, the male's just caught another small one. A question has just come through from Jen, and she's interested to know why some birds will kill their prey first and others can swallow their prey alive. I think a lot depends on the prey's size. So the male who's catching smaller fish and caught 2 smaller ones, he would have swallowed those alive without worrying about killing them. But for the female here, if she was to swallow this much bigger fish alive, it could certainly cause damage to her. So I think that's why. I think it just relates to the size of the prey species a lot. And look, some birds may always swallow their prey alive, but will therefore have evolved with different digestive systems and obviously more acidic digestive juices to help process that live animal faster. Time to relax before she swallows it. It's been tiring business bashing that fish over the branch. Leanne in Florida, good morning. Leanne is interested to know whether I think that the kingfisher is bashing the fish over that branch in order just to kill it, or in order to break its bones to make it easier to swallow. And I personally think it's just to kill the fish, not to try and break any bones to make it easier to swallow. Thankfully, fish are quite slippery prey items, and therefore as long as it's facing head first, it should slide down into the gullet of the kingfisher. And in just a few moments I think we are going to see exactly how she goes about it. Well, you can't help but wonder now what's taking her so long. It's also risky business to be sitting around with such a good catch, as other animals may want to try and steal it from her, other birds, even her husband potentially. It's as if she's fallen asleep there. Oh, there's a little bit of movement. Is she going for it now? Seems to be flicking up her tail in excitement. Well, there's been a few questions coming through inquiring as to whether sometimes would they potentially catch prey that is simply too big to swallow, and I think that would certainly happen from time to time. You can imagine hunting prey in this murky water. I'm not even sure how they distinguish between larger or smaller prey items when hunting in such murky water. But I certainly will think that occasionally they will catch prey that's simply too big to swallow and that they just have to discard. Thankfully nothing goes to waste out here. So something would end up feeding on it, but possibly not the predator who caught it. And who knows, maybe that'll be the situation this morning. Time will tell. We're not going to go anywhere until this kingfisher has her breakfast, or at least attempts to. So let's wait and see what happens. Jason, are there no leopard behind us or anything?
No, just a hippo.
Still the hippo. Okay. Wouldn't that be nice if we turned around, caught up in all this action, and there was a leopard drinking behind us? It's possible. Well, it's continued to be an overcast day, and that suits me perfectly. I enjoy the cooler overcast weather. I thought the sun was going to win the battle today, but evidently not. And also what that may mean is hopefully with all these clouds we will at some stage get rewarded with a bit of precipitation.
Flies are killing me.
Yeah. The flies are attacking us. And if you could see myself and Romeo swatting at them profusely, it would be a comedy show. Oh, Jason, I think this lady's planning something. So be ready. And on Twitter's just asked a very, very good question. Now, as I said, this kingfisher impaled the fish on the end of her beak as opposed to clamping down on it when she caught it. And how would she have been able to get it off the edge of her beak without dropping it? And they're incredibly nifty with that tool of theirs, the beak. And I think what she would have done is kind of almost tossed it into the air and in a split second then clamped down on it. So I think lots of practice, and the fact that it is a slippery fish shows that they are really good at wielding their swords. I guess you could relate to them as a sword. And what you've got to, I guess, imagine is that we're so used to using our hands to aid us, but birds don't have that privilege, and there's even certain humans out there that, like this bird, may not have the privilege of having hands to use, and even humans can do incredible things, painting with their mouths or using their mouths to aid in their daily business. So I guess it's just a matter of a lot of practice and experience that it manages to keep that fish in its mouth when getting it off the impaled beak into a position where it can actually hold on to it and then clobber it to death. Well, it's going to be, I'd like to know what people's thoughts are, whether you think she is going to be able to swallow it, or whether you think that this is going to be discarded. What would be great is if the male flew up and put a bit more pressure on her. Just got a question through from Ramey on Twitter asking how big this bird is, and I would say its body is about the size of a tennis ball. If you were to squeeze a tennis ball into a slightly more oblong shape, it's basically a tennis ball sized bird. What do you think, Romeo? Any other ideas of a
tennis ball with a golf ball on the top?
There we go. It's a tennis ball with a golf ball on top of it. So those are two objects that I think people worldwide can relate to.
It's just making me hungry.
I've got a breakfast bar here for you, Romeo.
Can I have half, please? Thank you.
No problem. Sorry, go again with that, please. Okay, well, Nikki has mentioned that a lot of the feedback is that the majority think that this fish is too big for her to swallow. And that if she does manage to, she's going to have a fishtail hanging out of her mouth. Now, I personally think the majority of you are wrong, and I think she is going to swallow it. So I'm going to follow the minority here, and I'm confident she's going to swallow it. Or at least attempt to. The next question, somebody else has said maybe she will give it to her husband. Now, in the bird world, it's often the females that are slightly bigger than the males. Ever so slightly, but it is usually that the females are a little bit bigger. So giving it to her husband, who in all likelihood is slightly smaller than her, is not going to help this problem. What would be nice to see is that if the husband did come closer to her, whether she would be more inclined to try and swallow it, and the fear that he may try and steal it from her. Anyway, this is a situation that we are simply not going to be able to leave until we get to the bottom of it, so I hope everyone's comfortable. Thankfully, Jason has got some breakfast and is now no longer jealous of this kingfisher with her kill. So we're not going anywhere. Just got a question through from Jerry in Maryland asking if I know what kind of fish it is. And to me it looks... What I would like to do is come to this dam with a fishing rod, and maybe I will even do that between drives today and try and catch a few fish to learn about their species, and that way I'll be able to give you a better idea as to what exactly occurs in this dam. And it will just be purely recreational catch and release fishing, unless of course Jason comes with. He might want to eat the fish. He's a growing young lad and has an insatiable appetite, but we'll make sure we load him up with breakfast before we come, if we do come out fishing. And it's something that I love doing but have yet to do since being out here, so maybe today's the day. Linda on Twitter, good morning. Linda is interested to know whether, if she does eat this fish, when will her next meal be? And I'm not too sure. They do have quite a high metabolism, these kingfishers, along with a lot of birds. So, hard to say, but you would think that it's going to keep her full for at least the majority of the day. Maybe she'll try and catch another smaller fish this evening, but I haven't watched kingfisher closely enough to determine how much they need to eat every day, and that would require some fairly intensive research. What I can tell you is that the male, who caught 2 smaller fish in quick succession, has not attempted to catch another one. So he seems happy with his hunting this morning, having caught 2 fish that maybe accumulatively would equate to the same as her individual catch here. And we'll keep an eye on him to see if he does make any other kills, and that way try and establish how much they need to feed on. But then again, we'd have to spend the whole day here to be able to determine how much they will continue to feed on throughout the course of the day. They could, of course, have also done some fishing before we even got here.
He just went down again.
Did he?
Yeah, but I can't see anything.
Could you just go again with the name, please? got a question through from Cynthia in Ohio, and Cynthia is interested to know what Jason is studying at the moment, and does he intend on continue filming wildlife once he has graduated. So, Romeo, let us know what exactly your plans are and what exactly it is you're studying at the moment, please, sir.
At the moment, I'm studying, doing a Bachelor of Arts in Film and Television, so this and other things like this. But as it stands, I have no idea what I want to do. I'm enjoying this a lot, so I could come back to this, but at the moment I've still got a world of choices, so I'm going to keep my options open, but I do enjoy this a lot. This is a lot of fun, but I'm going to try and become as learned as possible.
And how long is the degree? Is it a 3-year degree?
It's 4 years.
4-year degree?
4 years to get my...
Honours?
No, 4 years to get my normal, what's it called? I don't even know what it's called. 4 years to get my degree.
Yeah, your degree.
Then I'm going to have to do another... board in a single lecture. A lot of people try and get in, so it's very intimate. There's like 40 of us, 42 of us.
Okay.
There's twins in there to let them both in.
Okay.
And they're all nice. They're all a bunch of good fun. So yeah.
Cool. And I guess, Cynthia, what Jason's been so lucky about is that he has got in with the Wild Earth team, and before he has even got his degree and qualifications, he's already in with us and done such a great job so far that I'm sure the Wild Earth bosses will continue to try and use Jason as often as they can during his university breaks, and that way he will always have the option to come and film wildlife with Wild Earth if he does intend to do so.
I hope so.
Exactly.
That's probably the best job in the whole wide world, though, if I think about it.
Yes, we are very fortunate where we find ourselves. Thanks, Cynthia, and I hope you've got a better idea of Jason's current studies and his plans. Deanna on Twitter. Good morning and welcome. Deanna's interested to know what kind of nests do these kingfishers use to nest in, and it's most often a tunnel excavated into the banks surrounding waterholes, and there are actually a few excavations in one of the banks here at Buffelshoek Dam that they could well use as a nest, but haven't noticed them using it. Well, now, as the clock continues to tick, we are going to continue to start asking ourselves, well, how much longer can we sit here and wait to try and watch whether this kingfisher does manage to swallow this kill? And it's a good question, because we might possibly need to move off at some stage, as hard as that may be, to see what else is going on. There's no other updates from the Game Drive channel, so we're not missing out on anything at this stage. But maybe we can have a look at this go-away bird having a drink, and if the kingfisher does start to swallow the fish, we'll get Jason to pan back there as quickly as possible. That was a grey go-away bird that flew down to quench its thirst.
Oh, there's another one.
What have you spotted there? Another go-away bird, well spotted. Now, I wonder if this go-away bird is feeding on the fruits of this buffalo thorn that it's sitting in. I think it could well be. And incredible how it manages to jump through that buffalo thorn tree, because it is a very, very thorny bush with both hooked thorns and straight thorns. And if you get tangled up in one of those, it really is difficult to get yourself out of that mess. But the go-away bird manages to somehow go about. Oh, here we go. We're going to see it eating some of the berries now. There we go. Oh. Well, funnily enough, I chewed on one of these fruits just the other day. They've got quite a sweet coating, almost a sugary coating, but it is quite a hard seed within this fruit, quite a large hard seed within the fruit, so it's mainly the exterior coating that provides nutritional value. Just to keep you updated, the kingfisher has not moved a muscle and is still sitting very patiently with her kill. Oh, it looked like the go-away bird got slightly tangled in the thorns. Oh, yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier. But it seems like it can get untangled with relative ease. Now, back to the conundrum of whether to leave this kingfisher or not. Like I did say, there's not too much else going on that we know of. And there's no saying that by being stationary here, any animals could arrive at this waterhole, which often at this time of the year do provide us with great viewing. And it would be really interesting to know whether she can swallow this kill, so let's give it 5 more minutes, and see what happens and then reassess what to do. Half of me is saying go and look for something new. The other half is saying why don't we just stay here, because this is a guaranteed sighting of interest. As if we drive off, we are heading off into the unknown where we may find absolutely nothing. Come on, lady, you've got many, many people that are extremely interested to know what you're going to do with this fish. Jason's going to try and pan back to see what the hippo's up to. In the meantime, it will be difficult with the angle of the vehicle now, but... Oh, the female's getting excited.
Is she?
Well, she let off a few calls, wagged her tail once or twice. It's more than she's done so far this morning. Come on.
Is that a sandpiper?
Yep.
Can I show the people the sandpiper?
Yep.
Sandpiper go, I think.
Have you found it?
Yeah.
Well, this looks to be a common sandpiper. They are very difficult birds to distinguish. They all look quite similar. But the common sandpiper has a very prominent white crescent in front of the wing that you can see, whereas the wood sandpiper, green sandpiper and marsh sandpipers, the other sandpipers you get in this area, will lack that white crescents. And it's feeding on little aquatic insects there and terrestrial insects that are obviously on that wooden log. But can also eat small frogs and tadpoles and even small fish. Okay, well there was just an alarm call from a go-away bird, so is it that this go-away bird is seeing? Will something be approaching the water's edge? Or is it simply a bird of prey or a small mongoose or a smaller predator that alerted that go-away bird? So we've got ourselves into a conundrum here because we've invested so much time into watching this kingfisher and hoping to see her swallow her kill that it's almost hard to back out of this plan now. But trust me, there's a lot of me saying, let's go and see what else is out there. Jason, what do you think we should do?
Don't put this on me.
It is a problem though. I mean, we could sit here for another hour and nothing could change.
Well, personally, I'm having a good time.
Yeah.
Because
Other than the flies.
Yeah, except for flies. But
and anything could come here. But then again,
but anything
nothing
could come to other places where we aren't.
Exactly. Exactly. Come on. Now, the only thing in our favor here is that we do know that this waterhole does receive a lot of visitors daily and has been receiving especially a lot of elephants over the last few weeks. So there's a strong likelihood something could come here. You know what we do?
Play another round of What's That Tree?
No, we drive around, we do a loop, and come back to the dam.
Okay.
And that way we'll see if she's still got the kill, or we'll never know exactly what would have happened in between. She could have just dropped it, or something else could have stolen it from her, but at least we will be able to go on a little bit of an adventure now, and then return here when she's hopefully a little bit more hungry. So let's go and see what else is going on in the vicinity. And trust me, it's not an easy thing leaving this sighting, because I would love to stay and know exactly what happens, but it could be a very long wait where nothing happens. So so we will continue. We will be back to get an update on what you have done with your fish, madam. As you can tell, I am battling to leave. Please don't eat it while we're gone. Well, I fear we are never going to know the end of that story. But an interesting morning nonetheless, and it's a pity that we don't have the second vehicle out, otherwise then it would have been okay to sit there for another hour and wait to see what happens. But it is what it is, and glad we got to see some interesting kingfisher behavior anyway. Updates on the video. Okay, copy. Now, I'm going to forewarn you, the road we're about to go down often causes a break in signal, so we can expect to possibly lose complete signal or just have a little bit of a jumpy broadcast for a few moments as we pass through this area. I wonder where Kunyuma is. Kunyuma, for those of you who don't know, is a young male leopard, brother of Quarantine, who we've been seeing more recently over the last week, but it does vary over the weeks, and sometimes Kunyuma's around more often than Quarantine, or not necessarily that he's around, but that we've managed to actually find him. There are two brothers that are just over 2 years old now. And it would be interesting to know of his whereabouts, as well as Quarantine. So let's go and check the southern parts of the reserve around Twin Dams and Treehouse Dam and see if we have no luck finding any sign of them. I'm going to do is I want to use this opportunity for Jason to show you exactly how thorny the buffalo thorn bush was that the grey go-away bird was jumping through looking for berries, and these dead branches will provide a great opportunity for you to see all of the thorns. And there's both hook thorns and straight thorns. I don't know, can you zoom in more and try to find a hook, Romeo?
A hook?
Do you know what I mean? Like the hook thorn and a straight thorn combo.
Yeah, I'm going to try and find one in real life first.
Okay.
I'm going to zoom in regardless.
Yeah, I'll zoom in and take us on a tour here. You can get an idea. That's probably not a bad shot there, but as you continue to meander your way through this bush, you'll see there's a array of straight thorns and hook thorns. There's a good example there. That can get you really snagged up. And the reason why this tree is called the buffalo thorn is not because the buffalo feed on it. They feed purely on grass. But it's because buffalo have been known to back into these bushes when they are under attack from lion. Because it is impenetrable with all these thorns, they can protect their back half of their body by having it in one of these very thorny bushes, and therefore just use their horns to protect their front half.
There, middle of the screen.
Well done, Romeo. He's finally found the hook and straight thorn combination that he's been searching for. And that's what would have caught that go-away's bird's feathers, wing feathers, ever so briefly. And we saw it get a little bit snagged earlier on. Sorry, go again. Again, the channel was busy. Copy, thank you. Hey. So this vervet monkey would have positioned himself high up on this dead knobthorn tree in order to have a good vantage point. There's obviously no food up there for him or her, but a great vantage point from which it can look for any predators that may be, and it is a big male. and he would focus a lot of his time on scouting and searching for any potential predators that may affect the troop. But he appears to be about to slink off into this quarry bush. Let's see if he provides us with an entertaining jump. Not the most entertaining of jumps. And now it is concealed by a very thick vegetation within that bush. And I fear we will not be able to get... Oh, we'll maybe get a half decent shot through there. Oh no, it's very thick. But well done, Jason. But lucky we caught him out on the dead knobthorn tree out in the open to start with, and got some great views of him coming down. Here's the rest of the troop, it looks like. But again, difficult performing because it is quite thick in these knobthorn trees. No, nothing in particular, no major updates. Wherever he's feeling lucky would be wonderful. This guy's got a very full mouth, but as I got my binos onto him, he moved. Okay. Well, they're not in the best spot for forming those vervet monkeys, sadly, so we'll leave them to it. So interesting how there were so many elephants around yesterday, and today it appears like there's no fresh sign of them, so they may have moved off to adjacent properties, or they could simply be in the areas that we have not been to yet, of which there are many. Just got a question through from Bouleray on Twitter. Good morning and welcome. Bouleray's interested to know why we haven't seen any baboons for a while. And it's a good question. There was a large troop that came in while I was gone the first few weeks of February. So over November, December and January we didn't see any baboons or sign of them. And then for the first 3 weeks of February a troop came in, a very large troop, and did spend some time around Djuma, but has now moved off. Where it's moved to I'm not too sure. So there isn't a resident troop that we see at the moment, but that could change. Just got a question through from Ray in Colorado. Hello Ray. And Ray's interested to know where myself and Jason have traveled to outside of Africa. Jason, would you like to start with where you've been?
When I was 13 I went to Italy to visit a bunch of friends with my parents, and my whole family went.
Okay, but you were quite young.
I was quite young, I can't remember. Went and saw all the important Italy things, which was a lot of fun.
Okay.
So I can say I've done that.
Good.
You know whatever. Then in grade 10 I went to school in India for 3 months. Called Mayo College in Rajasthan.
That must have been awesome.
Which was lots of fun. That was probably the most exciting thing that's ever happened to me in my life.
Okay, on an exchange program.
Yeah. And then I went to England for a while last year. Was it last? No. Yeah, last year. To see what arboriculture was all about and tree surgery. So I did that for 3 months, which was a lot of fun.
Okay.
Where you climb trees as a job. That's a real thing. Which I didn't know. And then, yeah, does Southern Africa count?
No, Africa is out of the equation.
Okay.
Sadly, according to Ray.
That's me, I think. Oh, I've been to Wales as well on cricket tour.
Okay.
Which is...
But obviously Wales didn't have a huge impact on you because you forgot about it. Or was it the cricket tour?
It was the cricket tour.
Okay. So a sporting tour to Wales. Okay. Good. Well, thanks for that, Jason. Myself, Ray, again, when I was quite young, 12 or 13, travelled to Australia and New Zealand, both North and South Island of New Zealand. And my family were considering immigrating to, or leaving South Africa, as a lot of South Africans did in that era. But thankfully, even though we were accepted to move to New Zealand, my folks decided against it at the last moment, and we stayed here in South Africa, which I'm very fortunate about. Otherwise I would almost certainly not be sitting here right now, and it's a place that I consider myself very lucky to be sitting in. So did Australia and New Zealand when I was 12, 13, then did a gap year, which took me to England for the first kind of 6 months of the gap year, and I ended up in Fort Lauderdale for a few months at the end, working on yachts there in Florida. And after that, actually it wasn't that trip, then during a university skiing holiday, we went to Aspen, which is in your neck of the woods in Colorado, and I did a 3-month season in Aspen. Oh, beautiful. Don't run away. Now this Inyala, I'm fairly certain, is about to have a drink. And hopefully he's going to allow us to watch him. bump here. Beautiful. This is a beautiful big Inyala bull. They don't get much more impressive than this as far as Inyala go. And wasn't our timing just so lucky there. And so maybe we can thank the Kingfisher for keeping us stuck at Buffelshoek Dam for so long, and therefore it caused us to arrive here at Twin Dams in time for that beautiful sighting. So, back to today's question. Did a 3-month ski season in Aspen, thereafter travelled to LA and Vegas and New York, which was great, over about a 3-week period. And other trips subsequently was a family holiday to Spain, which was great. Spent about 2 weeks in Spain, and then a more recent family holiday end of last year to Greece. And after Greece I went and stayed with my cousins and aunts and uncle who live in Norway, and traveled around Norway, which is an incredibly beautiful country. And I was there on one of the hottest summers they've had in many, many years. You literally couldn't even buy a fan in the stores there. They would have signs outside of the store where you'd typically be able to buy a fan saying, "Don't come in and ask for fans, we are sold out." So I had a really beautiful hot summer experience in Norway, and then did a couple of weeks traveling through Europe, Copenhagen, Amsterdam, Paris, and then ended up back on a small island in Greece. So that's about the sum total of my travels outside of Africa, and intend to do a lot more. There are so many beautiful countries on this planet of ours that it's just a matter of finding the time to get to all of them. Now these male impala, although these specific ones here have run off into very thick vegetation so we won't be able to see, but male impala in general are going to be a subject worth keeping a close eye on in the coming weeks and months. They will continue to get more and more riled up with testosterone as it comes into their rutting season, and we can expect a lot of action from them chasing one another around and making the most bizarre roaring, kind of gurgling, burping noise that they perform when they are rutting.
What does it sound like?
It's impossible for me to try and even. It's the most crazy noise. It sounds like, if you didn't know, if you just stop and listen to it, you'd never think it was an impala. A very difficult noise to imitate. So I will not try and do that. because it wouldn't even give you a vague idea of what it sounds like. But wait and see, it's an incredible noise to hear. And one thing we can also assume is that we'll see a few of them dangling up in marula trees in the coming weeks, because they're so focused on fighting with other males in order to get females that they'll often have their horns locked, and they would have been making this loud, funny, burping roar that any leopard or lion nearby, as soon as they hear this noise, they know that it's an easy meal, and you'll often see leopard running towards the area where they can hear impala rutting, and they often do get caught, the males. So we will be sure to see some male impala either dead or, if we're lucky, being caught in the coming weeks. Come on, at least some tracks for us to try and follow would be nice. But no joy, as of yet. This is quite cool. The spider's built its web directly over the road, and everyone can pass underneath it without breaking the web. You'll notice all the debris, and those are exoskeletons of previous kills that it would have made and already sucked all of the hemolymph out of. There's also a few smaller spiders, and those will be the males of the golden orb web spider, and the female is the big one that we can see. Risky business for the males, because she will feed on them if she gets the opportunity, and as you can see, there's lots of them all queuing up, hoping to get a chance to mate with her, which they will in all likelihood do through the opposite side of the web, so it's more difficult for her to decide to eat them if they do have the web between one another. Let's see if these guys hang around for us. Those guys. No. No luck. There are some warthogs, but they are quite skittish beasts, and especially in thicker vegetation like where we found them now, they will become nervous and run off. So the plan is to now head to Treehouse Dam, which we're not far away from. Let's see what's going on over there. Wanted to double check that road for any tracks that I may have missed, but didn't appear to be anything there. Not looking promising at this stage. Although there's a hummock, so we may be able to see another bird doing some hunting this morning. So there's two birds in the same shot there, Birchall's starling on the left and a hammerkop, which means a hammerhead in Afrikaans, on the right. Now the bird on the left, the Birchall's starling, is simply having a drink and possibly feeding on small insects as it goes along, whereas the hammerkop will be hoping to catch some small fish or frogs. It doesn't seem to be actively hunting and may just be relaxing in the water at the moment. Yes, excuse me. So seeing as though the hammerkop is not hunting, we will leave it to relax there and we will continue. The flies here are outrageous, so unless there's something special going on, myself and Romeo are going to be very happy to see the back of this dam. Hooray! Welcome back. And Hooray is interested to know whether we have any baobab.
Very big cat.
Oh, the jackpot. We hit the jackpot. Well done, Romeo. Let's see if we can tell who that is. Well, it's a young male, so probably quarantine or Kunyuma. And I'm guessing, because of its behavior and the way it's trying to slink off, is that it's Kunyuma. So we've been wondering where he is, and we will find out shortly if this is him. Where did he go? Jason? That way more. do have his visual, he's just ahead of us. So bear with us as we try and keep up with him. As you can see, we're having to negotiate with some quite thick vegetation here. Probably just get back onto the road because it will be easier to follow him from there, and I think he may be back on the road himself. It is Kunyuma. I'm almost certain. Station is located in Madore. He's heading up the drainage line from Treehouse Dam. No, I'm Tolek. Yeah. Heading west along the northern side of the drainage that leads into Treehouse Dam. It's going to start getting thick, so I don't know how long I'll be able to stay with them, but I'm going to try my best. Thanks, Mark. Okay, well, the good news is I think we are going to get into a spot here where we'll be able to have a great view of him, even if it is a brief one. And that way we'll be able to establish who exactly it is. I think it's Kunyuma, but only time will tell. Got him. Huh? Making us work for it this morning. Keep looking to the left. I think it could be behind this buffalo thorn. Thick one. Just going to try and loop around. How the flies treating you over there? I think I've got 30 on my head.
Very well. They need so much attention.
Oh. Huh? Yeah, well done. We lost him. Surely not. I think he's just lying down here somewhere. Lying down.
Nice walking.
Like it's one of those mornings, the kingfisher wouldn't eat a fish, and now the leopard won't let us look at it. We'll get there eventually. I wonder how narrowly we missed the leopard possibly drinking at that dam. Okay, hold on for a second here. Oh, I'm gonna get spoiled. Incredible view. Finally. And that does look to be Kunyuma. And what a beautiful leopard it is. Sniffing around very intently here, and there was a small entrance to a burrow that possibly warthog may use. And that's why I may be sniffing around here, hoping to get an easy meal. Well, doesn't get much better than this, and I don't know who got a bigger fright, him or the Franklin there that took off. He loves spending time in this very thick area, and have followed him and lost him in this area before. Buffalo thorn that crept up on Jason there. Well done on camera there, Joseph, following him through that thick stuff. Well, if we're lucky and he continues in the direction he's going, he will pop out into an area where it gets a little bit more open. There's also a road there which makes life easier on us. A small bump here, Jason, we're going to have to go over a lot. And where are we? I'll play it from there. There he is. Okay, so saw him briefly, which is good. Well, I'm hoping we're going to be able to squeeze out of here somewhere. Jason, are you okay there?
You okay there?
Yeah. Okay. Still there, Romeo?
But it is just one in my band.
Sorry. And now, we've got to hope that he continues towards where he was heading initially, and that way we should be able to get a view of him.
Drag your head.
Okay. According to my estimates, could pop out here. Oh. So that makes things a little bit easier for us. We're on Shabam Road now, and we might even find that he's walking down this road. There's a few Franklin alarm calling. It could well be that it's him that they're alarming at. They're just up ahead here. Copy, thank you. I'll just keep on looking for him. He may pop out and then we'll make a decision. Okay, so every second that goes by that we don't see him, he's getting further and further away from us. That is, of course, if he's still moving, which we cannot be certain he is. As anything is possible with these animals, but at least we did have a few brief glimpses of him, especially when he was up on the termite mound. That was really beautiful. Now I'm going to continue. This was more of the general direction he was moving, and the only reason I headed back this way was because of those Franklin that were alarm calling here. So, with a bit of luck he's going to pop out. Now I can hear a squirrel alarm calling. Here he is. Cool. Problem solved. Wonderful. Don't cross over. Kunyuma, it looks like, I think it's Kunyuma, it's just crossed over Shibam Road, still heading west. I wonder if he's not heading back to a kill. Wouldn't that be great news? He may have come to drink. Oh, sorry, Jason. He may have come to drink and is now heading back with purpose to potentially a kill. Now, it's a huge speculation on my behalf. And it could just be that he's hungry, that he's moving intently. Well, there's only 2 minutes left of the broadcast, but I'm going to stay with him for as long as we can, so we will keep the show going. I suppose if he did have a kill, he would probably be more full-bellied than he is now, so that blows my initial thought that he may be heading back to kill out the water a little bit. Looks quite hungry. And I'm afraid it's just getting... is it going to open up a little bit? Just chase something. I'm not sure if he's managed to catch it. No? Maybe that little squirrel. Just got caught by a nice thorn. That seems to be opening up a little bit more, so we'll be able to stay with them, which is the good news. So if any of you do have anywhere to go and prior commitments, goodbye to you, but I am going to stay here and stay with this nettle for as long as we possibly can. But if any of you do need to go, goodbye, but we will keep the broadcast going for a little bit longer than normal. Great prospects, a leopard on the move, overcast weather, he's hungry, he could come across anything, so now that it has opened up a little bit, it may well be worth our while staying as long as we can. Sorry? Sorry, Jason?
That's all.
Yeah. Sorry, Jason. Oh. Go all the way around here now. So now we are being forced to do quite a massive diversion. It should all work out okay. do have a little bit of ground to make up in order to regain visual of him. There he is. Forward. Hey, Jason.
Forward, yeah. There.
Could take this opportunity to remove some thorns from my body. Jason, that way we're going to have to maybe go out with some tweezers.
Definitely.
Jason's got a thorn in his rump. I've just taken one out of my bicep, so got a few puncture wounds, but all certainly worthwhile. And hopefully the only punctures are on our bodies and not on the vehicle. And after a short break, he commences. Good weather for hunting, this windy weather that's now picking up, because if he is to try and approach any prey, they will battle to hear his approach. They will naturally be more nervous in this weather, but good prospects for him hunting. Just need to come across some prey for him. Any idea where he is? Still behind that bush, you think?
There he goes. There. Somewhere.
There he goes. He is directly behind the bushes, but if he continues coming, we should be able to get a good shot of him.
There it is.
Great work on camera there, Jason.
Oh, thank you.
And he's stopping every few seconds to make sure he doesn't miss out on any good hunting opportunities. And I'm just going to try and reverse quickly now that I see where he's gone. Ramey on Twitter is interested to know whether this is his territory, and yes and no, Ramey. He doesn't have his own established territory, but there are areas where we have been known to find him more commonly, and this general area is one of them. He does spend a lot of time around Treehouse Dam, and oh, look at this, putting on a show for us. But he's a young male leopard, so he is not dominant yet, and he actually falls within his father's territory at the moment, and will continue to do so for as long as his father tolerates it. At some point, though, his father will have enough and then chase him away. It's highly unlikely that if and when his father does challenge him, that he will try and compete with his father. It's a far bigger leopard and a far more experienced leopard than himself, so I think he'll just naturally move off when the time comes. But he will at some stage get into some fights with other male leopards to establish who's boss. Good? Okay?
Good.
Very, very large termite bomb that he's heading straight towards, and I'm going to try and get round onto the other side of this in case he does go up. Copy. Well done. He was moving, huh?
Yeah, I was moving.
this is lucky. It's just gone up a tree, and that's always a wonderful thing to see. So stand by as we get into position. There's one or two of his characteristic snarls.
Tell him you can go without me.
Don't go down that side. Come down this side. Beautiful. Well, folks, I don't think we're going to get much better than that this morning, so we will, I think, leave him to it. And at least now we've got a good idea of where he'll be for this afternoon's drive. But after that great view of seeing him up the tree and coming down, I think we'll call it a morning and look forward to this afternoon's adventure. Mark and myself will be out, and thanks to Nikki in Final Control and Jason for his great camera work again. We will see you all later this afternoon.